Thank you for joining us on Early Exchange this morning. I am Blessing AJ. It's the end of the week and it should end well. Today we'll be looking at something, the kind of business that is referred to as good business. Still wondering what that is? You have to stay for the rest of the show so you find out. Straight away, let's get over now to Vivian Oguche, who will bring us up to speed on current happenings. Stay tuned to Early Exchange. Over now to you.
Well, good morning and welcome to the morning news update on Soup News. I am Vivian Oguche. Now, the Nigerian Postal Service, NIPOST, has introduced a commemorative stamp worth 255 naira to celebrate the launch of the Pan-African Postal Union Tower in Arusha, Tanzania. The Pan-African Postal Union is responsible for coordinating postal development across Africa, and the tower is a newly constructed 17-story building serving as the headquarters for Africa's continental postal. The Postmaster General of NIPOST, Sunday Adepopo, announced this during the stamp's unveiling ceremony in Abuja. He emphasized the global significance of postage stamps as informative tools about the nation's history, highlighting their role as vital assets in a country's economic landscape and essential infrastructure for development. And now the national president of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Nasima Dele Oye, has announced a partnership with South Africa aimed at strengthening economic ties and leveraging the collective economic potential of both nations. During his visit to the South African High Commissioner to Nigeria, Thamsanqa Msekelu, in Abuja, the president insisted that this partnership will not only benefit Nigeria and South Africa, but also contribute to overall economic growth and prosperity across the African continent. He stressed the need for continued collaboration and resource sharing between the two countries, believing that their combined efforts could catalyze innovation, creativity, and poverty reduction through strategic public-private partnership. Well, some sports news now. 5 African players, including Nigeria's Victor Osimhen, Egypt's Mohamed Salah, Cameroon's Andre Onana, and Morocco's Yassine Bounou, are in contention for the prestigious Ballon d'Or award alongside global stars like Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, and Lionel Messi. In the women's category, Asisat Oshoala, a Nigerian forward playing for FC Barcelona, is the sole African nominee, having previously won the African Women's Player of the Year award 5 times. And the Ballon d'Or winners will be revealed at a ceremony in Paris on October 30, with Liberia's George Weah as the only African player to have won the award, achieving this feat in 1995. And now, Gabon's military leaders have announced the release of deposed President Ali Bongo from house arrest, granting him permission to travel abroad for medical checkups. Ali Bongo, who suffered a stroke in 2018, was held under house arrest following the military seizure of power after a disputed 2023 presidential election. The decision to free him was attributed to his health condition and came under pressure from regional organizations and neighboring countries, although calls for him to face justice over corruption allegations have also emerged. Well, now, the Director General of the Migration of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Roland Kashwantale Shihuza, says the country has taken a significant step in promoting bilateral relations with Kenya by eliminating the visa requirement for Kenyan travelers visiting the country. This move is reciprocating Kenya's recent decision to waive visa requirements for Congolese visitors, emphasizing the spirit of cooperation within the East African Community, EAC, and the goal of facilitating the free movement of people to boost trade and connectivity among member states. Kenya's commitment to removing barriers and promoting regional integration aligns with its role as a member of the EAC, which DR Congo joined as the 7th member last year. Well, moving on now, consumer confidence in South Africa has showed signs of improvement in the third quarter, according to a survey conducted by the Bureau for Economic Research and sponsored by First National Bank, FNB. The Consumer Confidence Index rose from minus 25 points in the second quarter to minus 16 points in the third quarter of 2023. The survey noted a significant recovery in the confidence of high-income households after reaching an all-time low in the previous quarter. Now, despite these improvements, the index remains below the long-term average of 0 since 1994. Well, switching some gears now, the African Finance Corporation, AFC, backed by Nigeria's central bank and several African financial institutions, has affirmed its commitment to fossil fuel investments despite increasing global efforts to transition towards renewable energy sources. The executive director of financial services at the AFC, Sanjeev Gupta, who revealed this, stressed the pressing development needs of the continent necessitates continued investment in fossil fuel projects. While Africa has been spotlighted at its first climate summit as a potential source of renewable energy solutions, the reality is that many African nations are still focused on fossil fuel development to address their energy needs and diversify their energy sources. Well, let's take a breather. When we return, we'll move straight to the UAE and other stories around the world. Don't go anywhere. All right, you're welcome back. So in a bid to regulate the real estate sector and ensure it aligns with urban development, the urban development goals of the UAE, Sheikh Saud bin Rashid Al Muwalla, the Supreme Council member and ruler of Al Quwain, has issued a series of laws aimed at regulating the real estate sector. The regulation also aims to regulate pricing for real estate projects and the establishment of real estate escrow accounts with strong emphasis on safeguarding the rights of investors, real estate companies, and property developers. Furthermore, the regulation will also help to regulate real estate brokerage activities within the emirate, providing a comprehensive framework for brokerage operations. Now, these legislative measures collectively contribute to the orderly and well-regulated growth of Al Quwain's real estate sector. Still in the UAE, the Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC, has introduced amendments to its data protection regulations to bolster its data protection framework. Now, these amendments aim to enhance the safe and ethical management of personal data processing and operations within the DIFC, positioning it as a forefront data protection advocate in the region. Now, according to the DIFC Commissioner of Data Protection, Jacques Visa, the regulation underscores the importance of this outcome-based approach, particularly in managing AI technology development and ensuring the responsible and ethical processing of personal data in autonomous systems. However, additional guidance will accompany these amended regulations, further promoting data protection within the DIFC. And now, following a 3-year exclusion due to a dispute over Northern Ireland Protocol, the UK government says it is set to rejoin the European Union's flagship scientific research program, Horizon, immediately. And this will allow UK-based scientists and institutions have access to the £81 billion fund. UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who made this revelation, noted that the aim is to unlock remarkable research opportunities while ensuring a favorable outcome for British taxpayers. The European Commission responded positively to this development, describing it as mutually beneficial. However, the UK will not be rejoining Euratom R&D, a nuclear research alliance, though there is an agreement for cooperation specifically in the field of nuclear confusion. Now, the CEO of Japan's largest pop talent agency, Johnny and Associates, Julie Fujishima, has resigned while publicly acknowledging the sexual abuse committed by the agency's late founder, Johnny Kitagawa. This resignation follows a recent investigation that revealed Kitagawa's decades-long abuse of hundreds of boys and young men under his management. Now, while Fujishima's remarks were seen as sincere by some victims, they also highlighted the long road ahead in addressing the abuse scandal, which has rocked Japan's entertainment industry and led to calls for structural change within the agency. And now, a federal judge has ordered Texas to remove floating buoys on the Rio Grande River by September 15th, ruling that they posed safety risks and strained diplomatic relations. The decision came after a lawsuit by the Biden administration concerned about the humanitarian and environmental impact of these barriers. Texas Governor Greg Abbott plans to appeal the ruling while the Biden administration welcomes it, stating that the barriers were unlawful and negatively affected various aspects of the region. And now China is currently discussing a draft law that aims to discourage speech and attire considered harmful to the spirit of the Chinese people. Now, while the law suggests potential fines and jail term, it's facing calls for clearer definitions to prevent excessive enforcement. This proposal is part of China's efforts to reform public security laws, the first in decades, and has sparked lively debates, with some criticizing it as excessive and unclear. Well, that's our package on the Morning News Update today. Stay tuned for more analysis on early exchange. I can talk. Then if I'm talking with Blessing, I can also talk. Okay.
Well, from the news that Vivian Oguchi read, we've seen that a lot of economic activities have happened from yesterday until now. So let's take a deeper look at some of the news stories. Idausa Osamanze, Director, Research and Policy, Africa Development Studies Center, is here. There's something about what he's wearing that tells me he's ready to go sporty this weekend. I see a t-shirt. Good morning, sir.
Blessing, you're always calling me out.
Yes, because you have a way of saying things with the way you dress. It's either you are now hopeful to become an honorable or you're planning to go sporty.
You can imagine that some people are getting to be honored, so I want to be in the league.
That's good to know. Vivian, how are you doing this morning? You look good.
Thank you. You look good. I mean, was there a discussion overnight?
I think our spirit discussed.
I agree.
Oh my God.
All right, like I said, a lot of economic activities have taken place from yesterday until now. Let's begin looking at a story where the national president of the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Nasima Diloye, has announced a partnership with South Africa, which is aimed at strengthening economic ties and leveraging the collective economic potential of both nations. So, Idausa, Nigeria strengthening ties with South Africa. What possible economic opportunities can both countries explore?
A lot. A lot. And I think these are the things that we should be actually looking at. Once the environment right, a lot of these conversations can begin to happen. And I think everybody's confidence is now being renewed somehow, that you are having an ecosystem that is friendly to investment. And so what this means is that every businessman has to look out for opportunity outside to come home and then do well. And so this for me is a good news coming from Nasima. And then, of course, looking at how we can partner with Africa. You know, the last time we were talking about African trading more with Africans.
Yes.
We're doing more business with ourselves because we are richer than the West, we are richer than Asia. So we have to exploit the opportunity that God had given to us as a people. And God brought us together, same color, you know, same culture. We have to take advantage of this closeness and then build a robust economy so that Africa will no longer be underdog. But that's synonym of the eye of all the nations, where everybody wants to do business, live and have security, find safety, a good life, as it were.
You know, you talked about Africans doing business with Africans. Recently, President Tinubu was invited to India for the G20 summit. You have these bodies, they have blocks like this, you know, and it's very beneficial to them. The president is considering joining a body like the G20 summit. Does it benefit Nigeria or Africa in any way, being a part of that kind of?
Yeah, it should. You see, the real truth is that in the 1970s, specifically 1972, the vice president of India said publicly that India and the entire non-aligned states then, over 40 countries in the third world, were actually looking up to Nigeria for leadership for the third world, because there were a whole lot of great potential, both human and natural resources. And all of a sudden, the table turned and we seemed to be at the bottom. And I think this is where, of course, the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President is actually coming, that Nigeria will begin to take its prime place among the Committee of Nations. We are supposed to be the leader of the third world. And when you're talking about successful economy, we should have been pointing to Nigeria, but we have missed a lot of opportunity. It's never late. So, but this is time now that we're having a president who really said, let's take away politics, let's focus on the principal thing, which is the economy. And once we can focus on the economy, we will arrive as one that has been called a giant, a sleeping giant, but now the giant that is awake.
Yes, and I think that President Bola Tinubu, being the chairman of ECOWAS, would do a lot in that aspect, facilitating trade within countries that are members of ECOWAS. And then you find that in other continents, they have a kind of partnership amongst themselves. Take, for instance, the EU, that facilitates trade amongst themselves. But what we found in Africa is that the unions are for political reasons. So I think Africa needs to look beyond playing politics, beyond coming together for political reasons, to facilitating trade amongst themselves, because that is the only way that Africa can be formidable. Now the different unions, we have the BRIC, BRIC getting stronger and looking for African countries to become partner. It is when Africans come together and take a position, that is when Africa will be relevant in any of these unions. Else to just be, okay, be a member. And the same thing that has happened with other unions where Africa just plays the gallery and do the followership thing. That's what's going to happen. So until Africans begin to recognize that they have strength and they begin to explore that strength, first of all, within themselves, the cooperation is there. It'll just be a thing of completing the numbers for other countries or for other unions.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot is happening. Yesterday, the Minister for Solid Mineral had some agreement with the Australian High Commission, and then they were talking about partnership, exchange program to train Nigeria on the new technology of mining. This for me was also very outstanding. So, which means Nigeria is becoming the bride of the world. And I think, of course, we have to sustain this temple so that we can be where we should naturally be.
Okay, talking about Africa, let's get into sports, where 5 African players, including Nigeria's Victor Osimhen, Egypt's Mohamed Saleh, Cameroon's Andre Onana, and Morocco's Yassine Bono, are in contention for the prestigious Ballon d'Or award. I feel like it also includes global stars like Kylian Mbappe. I feel like celebrating, because I can't remember when was the last time a Nigerian player was included for prestigious awards such as Ballon d'Or. It's been a long time. And Victor Osimhen, you've not gotten it yet, but I just feel like celebrating you already. Do you feel that some way?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I'm not, I think we shouldn't just feel like celebrating. We should
actually celebrate.
Yeah, because this is a big deal, I'm telling you. And then don't even forget Asisa Doshola.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
It's about time. It's about time for our constituency. You know what I mean.
I do. And much respect for that constituency.
Yeah.
It's made us real proud. And the girls have done well in terms of playing football in Africa and globally. They have represented us well, and we just can only hope that she gets this honor.
Absolutely.
And other Nigerians and Africans that are there, so well recognized, and they are appreciated for their effort. Good luck, Osimhen. Good luck, Oshoala, for that nomination.
Yes, Asisa Doshola has been very consistent when you talk about a female football player. She's been consistent in wins, in keeping in form, because that is one thing that we don't find consistent. You see a female player doing very well. After a year or two, you know, it's just as if, what happened to her? And then you find some people say, well, maybe marriage happened, family life happened, but she's been very consistent. And I join my voice to Ida also to say, congratulations, girl. Keep pushing for our constituency, you know?
Yes.
Vivian's constituency and mine.
Absolutely.
You have my support.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on now to Gabon, where the military leaders who held the deposed president Ali Bongo, they've released him from house arrest, granting him permission to travel abroad for medical checkups. Now, Ali Bongo suffered a stroke in 2018. And he was held under house arrest following the military seizure of power after a disputed 2023 presidential election. The decision to free him was attributed to his health condition and came under pressure from some organizations, although there are still calls for him to face justice over corruption allegations. But I think that being given freedom to seek medical treatment is like you were free for life. Afterwards, going abroad for medical treatment.
But not really. I think it's also showing the humanness of those who are the coup plotter to actually have allowed this person. Of course, though he had corruption cases against him, of course, they said they're going to prosecute, but also look, they also put in value to life, which is important. And I think many African leaders should really understand is that no matter how serious a crime of a person is, people must not be denying access to good health. Because you find that in some cases where people have infractions against the law and they are arrested, they are kept in custody, they are not allowed access to medical care, health deteriorating. And I think that's not a good sign for Africa, that people have the right to life. And that right is guaranteed by the Universal Declaration by the United Nations. And we are all ratified those treaties of the United Nations, that no matter what the crime is, when people have health challenges, people should be magnanimous enough to give them the privilege to take care of their health before they answer the question of crime.
Absolutely. You know, what they say, health is wealth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is not to dispute what you just said about empathy. But, I mean, there's been talks by the opposition that this whole thing is a charade to deny him coming into power. Do you think this is like playing to the...
Well, it's also possible that, of course, it's a way to actually send him on exile. We can't tell. But I think from what is known that is official, that is allowed to go seek medical help without trying to read meanings to what is being intended, I feel for me is good for human rights practice, is good for a human rights record for the junta, and at least they're better than what is happening in jail. They put in place a transition program already, which means, of course, they don't intend to stay too long in power, but they also want to see how they can actually get that society working, because so rich in mineral, few population, but here there's been so much abuse over the years. And I think these are the issues for me that are of very clear concern.
No, so do you think the French is finally going to shake off? You know, this is like trying to shake off, you know, colonial...
The control of the French.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I think we just really need to wake up and grow up as Africans, especially the Francophone states that have been tied for too long to the apron string of the French government. That, of course, the economy are determined from Europe and not in Africa here. And this had actually created a whole lot of challenges. And you see, this is why when the coups are coming, people are celebrating. There's no light, for example, in Niger Republic. 70% of the light they get from Nigeria. And whereas the whole of Paris is powered by the uranium that is mined from Niger Republic.
What an irony.
So this is a contradiction, and I think that this is why a lot of African states are actually challenging and say, look, we need to be free. We have to be free to decide. We have independence, but we cannot decide for ourselves. For example, you see, over 50% of the reserve of the Francophone state warehouse in Paris, for example, in their treasury. And if they need the money, they have to borrow it at interest rate. That's outrageous, and these are real signs that, of course, these people are not free. And I think the kind of move that is going on right now, a lot of all these nations are going to set themselves free. Rwanda has set the example. You know, Rwanda changed their language completely to English, from French to English, and that happened. Mali is pursuing the same agenda, and I think it's time for Africans to really grow up.
You know, Blessing, I was going to pick your brains a little bit. I'm reacting. I want you to react to what he's just said. That these coups are coming up all over, you know, these countries because they want to shake off Francophone, you know.
Vestiges, yeah.
Right. But do you think a coup d'etat is the best way to do this? I mean, people say the worst democracy is better than, you know, a military government. I don't know what you think. I'm going to need him to speak to that as well.
Well, it is not just about shaking off the control of the French nation over some region of Africa alone, but it is about some African leaders that have abused power. So that's why it came through the form of coup. Ordinarily, there perhaps would have been some protests seeking revolution or a breakaway from the French control. But because some African leaders, particularly the ones in Niger and Gabon, have been seen by their people as people who have abused power, they've overstayed, they do not want to let go of power. So it's, first of all, it's like chasing two things, but we have to use one weapon to fight these two things.
So you're using a stone to kill
two birds. So it seems.
But you see, if you've looked at the conversation, take it from Nigeria, for example. The president of the NBA was saying the other day and said, look, we had our members across Nigeria to speak about the Nigeria election, for example. And we wrote our report on our observations on our elections. There's no community that don't have a lawyer.
Yeah.
We deployed over 1,000 men to polling units, real time. And we wrote a report. And then EU, that had no up to 50 people monitoring election, wrote a report on our election. And then the report of the EU seemed more credible than the report of the people who are on the ground. And what everybody, in short, of course, when, of course, the ruling was going on at the tribunal the other day, and the man said, look, the EU report is as useless as the paper that carried it. You see, this is the real issue, because most of the elections that are done in Africa seek legitimacy from the West.
From international observers.
And so, because they are seeking legitimacy, they don't really want to challenge those status quo. And this is why you see that this is coming via coup. Yeah, but because this one, you don't need their legitimacy. So you can actually speak to the issues the way they are. So you find that over the years, because we are seeking the validation of our colonial master, you can imagine that Nigerians that are doing elections, and we are having more debate in Chatham House than we are having in Nigeria.
Does it make sense?
It doesn't make any sense. So this is the position African democracy actually is. And we must need to shake ourselves of these vestiges of the colonial past so that we can hold our destiny in our hands.
No, I can't help but chip this in that the concept of data localism is what is key for Africa. Not seeking data from outside, not seeking validation of the data from international observers or from international bodies. Now, the effect of colonization, which left the legacy of new colonization, is what Africa is actually battling with right now. And so you're having the revolution coming different from. Remember that at the African Climate Summit, some Africans actually protested the agenda, the participation of multinationals at that summit, and they wanted the summit and this agenda to be championed by African-led experts. So there's been like a shift around Africa, wanting to change the narrative of how things have been. So I think that, well, while coup may not have been the right way to go, it seemed like the only option for those countries. But I hope that the military junta in those countries would actually do the right thing and ensure a transition process that would bring to bear a government that would actually pursue true leadership, that would actually pursue the interest of their people, so we can have development in Africa. Because otherwise, it would just be us fighting ourselves at the end of the day.
We say no to coup from here. And we're saying, Africa citizens, wake up. Take your destinies in your own hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
Understand that you are made by God with an inalienable right to be free and not to be governed from elsewhere. That you have the capacity to govern yourself. And this is what we're speaking to, that we will not need to seek validation from Western country to be who we should be. We can be all that God had made us to be.
And
Well
if we don't do that,
said.
we'll just be indirectly annexed.
Well.
All right, now let's take a last story, which talks about the African Finance Corporation, AFC, backed by Nigeria's central bank and several African financial institutions, affirming its commitment to fossil fuel investment despite increasing global efforts to transition towards renewable energy sources. Okay, more investment for fossil fuel investment. They've already talked about that coming up despite global effort to transition towards renewable energy. Should we be making more investments in fossil fuel, or the focus should be strictly on renewable energy, Idelsa?
Well, I think our president has made this very clear why the campaigns were on, and I think my position aligns really greatly with his position. Yeah, why we are transiting from fossil fuel to renewable energy, we must also understand that it comes with its own costs. And that was why the president says, look, if the West say, oh, there's so much that is done to climate and we want to change to renewable energy, we need to, first of all, power our civilization such that we are able to actually earn the money to transition. Otherwise, what you do for us is that since you are the one creating the trouble for us, give us money so that we can use it to transition. But if you are not giving us money to transition, and this will lead us to borrow, then let's use what we have to get what we want. And I think this is the conversation. And Africa must really look at this because God gave us this thing in nature.
Yeah, so
we have to use it for our good.
Absolutely.
And use it responsibly.
Absolutely. So, which brings me to my question. Do you smell rat here? This whole thing about transitioning to renewable energy. Some people have even dubbed it politics.
Oh yes, there's so much of rat to smell. Because if you have read Kwame Nkrumah's work, Neocolonialism, the last phase of imperialism, you will see this well documented. How the West tend to move trade around in Africa. What they do is that once they have developed a technology, they find a way to criminalize some aspect of trade in favor of the new technology. And this has always happened. And if you know about rubber business, when they started to discover rubber, they had to say, look, no to rubber. And of course, because we didn't have technology to convert rubber, now we have cut down all our rubber plantations. Now, when, of course, they were not able to get cocoa to do so much they want, and the prices was going on in the international market, they are developing concentrates, and then they are shifting the goalpost. So this has happened all through history. So this is why when these conversations are going on, Africans also need to open their eyes to see, yes, we believe in what you're saying, we also must own our research. To be sure, so that we can have an alternative voice to what is coming from the West. To see that it is not just a ploy to rip African off. The last time, of course, when they were having this summit in London, and of course the Chinese ambassador was saying, look, the Europeans promise that they are going to invest X amounts of money to help people cope with climate change. Where's the disbursement? Where is the money? So when we met in Paris this last COP27, the conversation was say, how do we refinance the debt? So this is always the conversation. So we as Africans must realize that our destiny is in our hands, and we must not allow people to determine it. We must know what is good for us and what is not good for us, and not allow other people to determine what should be good for us and what should not be good.
Yeah, and I think the way to remove all the rats out of a house is to have homegrown solutions. Yeah. That way we can own it, we can develop our economy through homegrown solutions. I'll leave it there. Before we go on a break, today is International Literacy Day. It is commemorated every 8th of September as established by United Nations. It's a day to celebrate the fundamental human rights that empowers individuals, which is education. We'll talk more on that after this break. Please stay tuned. of literacy and also look at the challenges that still exist that hinders the achievement of universal literacy. Here in Nigeria, we know that a lot of persons are literate, but the literacy level is not to the point that we can say, yes, we have a nation of fully literate people. And we know the importance of education, what it does, because education empowers you to make informed decisions. It empowers you for a lot of things. And so we cannot underplay the importance of education. To look at this with us, we have Sam Oroji, who is Director, Research, Policy and Development, Femi Wash Limited, owners of Sook News, and of course, Wash Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
When we talk about literacy, what are the challenges that still exist to achieving a full literate nation?
All right, thank you very much indeed. Before we look at a Nigerian specific term, we need to take a global overview of Literacy Day, which came into being in 1966. So this is the 57th year of celebrating that day. What it underscores is the importance of human dignity and education, particularly in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 4, which highlights the key importance of education. So literacy essentially is about the level or the ability to read and write. And as we speak, globally, we have almost 800 million people who cannot read and write. And the statistics are very gloomy, particularly in India and the Central Republic of African Central Republic. So these key issues, or this day highlights the importance of literacy, education, and education as a human right, and to enhance the human dignity. So key that people must know how to read and write. And if we look at it locally, we have a statistic that talks about over 10.5 million children out of school. And these are in relationship to the challenge of literacy and education.
You know, it's a good thing you defined what literacy is, right? So let me do a follow-up on that. The UNESCO says that at least 700, I'm reading from the report by UNESCO, 763 million young people and adults lack basic literacy skills. This was in 2020. And then UNESCO is saying, top this up with the COVID-19 crisis, and then now with the climate, issues and conflicts. It's dire, right?
It is.
Yeah, so how does this strike you? What are the skills that are needed to qualify a person as literate?
Well, literate, just simply your ability to read and write, at least at the basic fundamental level. Ability to read and write. And that report which you just spoke to earlier was what I tried to mention earlier, that globally you have almost 800 million people who cannot read and write. And it's a major challenge. And because education empowers the ability for people to think, able to respond to issues. And if you look at it in line with the Sustainable Development Goal, number 4, the focus on education, talking about access, affordability, in terms of how people can acquire education. So it's very critical today, create an awareness on the importance of education. So it's key that we must find a way to move a lot of people from this bracket. Yeah. That's very, very, very challenging. There's over 800 million.
Yeah, it's big, it's big. It's a big deal. Then there's something you said, because I keep coming back to it, the definition of literacy. So you said something about thinking. So it's critical for you to be able to read and write and think as well.
Yes.
So because there's a possibility for you to be able to read and write and not have the ability to think. You'll be taken for a fool, right?
Yeah, for a fundamental, at a basic level.
Okay.
Education itself is a human right. It's key that at the elementary level, that's the basic level of education, everybody should be able to have access to be able to read and write. And when you're able to read and write, that enables your thinking processes.
Yes, that's correct, because education is the foundation of all learning. Now, for anybody to be able to think, what are you thinking on? There must be something that feeds your thoughts.
True.
So if you're unable to read and write, whatever information that will feed your thoughts, you can't even access it, you can't even assimilate it. So that sets the foundation. Once you're able to read and write, every other thing follows. Now, I can give you an example of you have someone who is skilled in doing business, maybe a petty trader, but he cannot read and write. So there are certain things that you could write, even if you make an order and you write that order. If he doesn't have somebody to read that thing for him and tell him what it is that you have written, he's lost. Even in terms of keeping records, he's unable to effectively do that because he lacks education. So we cannot underplay education. And then talking about people being able to read and write, having access, we know, of course, that there are challenges because from what you read about UNESCO report, about 8 million people globally still, 800 million people globally still are unable to have access to education. Now, I like to also begin from Nigeria, using Nigeria as a case study. One of the fundamental issues we know that takes education out of the reach of a lot of people is poverty. And this is where we need to begin to look at having access to free education. How would that be possible? Because some time ago, we talked about the cost of education when some tertiary institutions increased their fees. And some persons were of the position that education is not for everybody, or at least they meant tertiary education. Does this not make it more challenging for us to have a literate nation, Sam?
Yeah, I think the critical answer to this question is the focus. When you talk about literacy, the focus is at the basic education level. And the Constitution already guarantee that from basic one to the other level, before you get to tertiary level, that kind of education should be guaranteed where people can just read and write. So the challenge in terms of whether education is expensive, then try illiteracy.
But we know that it is expensive because
true.
even when in primary schools or in some states you have free, it's more like free tuition, not free education. The parents, they need to pay for books. They need to pay for some things. And given economic condition, that is still expensive for a lot of people. How do we bridge that gap? How do we make it accessible, affordable for a lot of people?
For basic education, I think it should be accessible, it should be affordable, and the government must focus on finding a way, particularly from Nigeria, that we even have about 10.5 million out-of-school children. That's what the statistics say. So we need to find a way, both state, local government, and the federal government, how to find a way to bridge the gap by providing incentives so that people can get into those basic education. That's key.
So there are public schools, right? This is the purpose it's meant to serve,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Except that the quality, the standard might be below par. But then you talked about incentive. The administration that just left came up with the food, giving food to children in school. That kind of attracted people to schools.
Yes.
That's the kind of incentive we're talking about, right? Yeah, but there's something I also want to ask on a lighter note. So when we talk about learning how to read and write, must it be in English, or are we saying we could do it in our, languages, in our native languages as well? I mean, is there in what language should we be literate?
Essentially, for general communication purpose, English is essential. Then we can move to developing some other languages. So to bridge that gap, particularly for those who don't have access at the basic level, is to improve on the adult education purposes where you have preparatory classes so that people can come and be trained to read and write. So that we enhance the level of literacy that the UNESCO talk about.
Blessing, do you know how to read and write in your language?
To an extent, and that's because our educational system has not explored that fully.
True.
Yeah, at the basic level, you're taught how to read and write in your local language, but that doesn't continue beyond the basic educational level, maybe primary schools. And it's not even consistent because not all schools do that. You find that more in public schools than you will find in private schools. So I think it's about time that we begin to restructure the way things are done. Now, English being the official language of Nigeria should not mean that books can't be written in languages in our mother tongue. It doesn't mean that concepts cannot be developed there. I think it would even make it easier for people to understand, because sometimes the problem is the English. You find somebody studying physics and is using a dictionary as well to understand certain things that are said in the physics textbook. So English is also part of the problem why we do not have some persons showing signs, or at least convincing signs, that they went through the 4 walls of an educational system. So if we can develop that, but it has to be a continuous process from the basic level up to the secondary level, up to the tertiary institution. And that's going to take a lot. Because who's going to do the translation?
Ask me.
That's a lot too. But let's look at gender inequality, the role it plays in having people be illiterate. Now, there are still areas where it is believed that a girl child should not really be in school, or at least not do too much when it comes to education, because some people still believe that the place of a woman is in the kitchen. So what would be the use of the education when she has to get married after a while? And because there is also poverty, you find some parents wanting to do a kind of debate. Okay, I have a son, I have a daughter. There's not enough money to send both of them to school. Who do I send to school? I send my son to school. How do we tackle that issue, Sam?
Okay, essentially that has to do with cultural issues. We're in a patriarchal society where culture seems not to favor the female gender. But then that's on the one hand. But efforts are being made through advocacy. There are a lot of women advocacy centers that have been pushing those agenda, how the girl child must be supported in such a way that they can get basic education even up to the tertiary level. So the conversation should be creating awareness on the importance of education, and that the girl child should not be taken out of scheme of things, and must make encouragement that education is a human right. There's a gender equality in relationship to education to enhance human dignity. So we must sustain the advocacy and the process to improve on how we can improve on girl child education, particularly at the primary school enrollment level.
Okay, quickly, there's a particular set of people that we seem not to be focusing on when we talk about having access to education. Persons that are physically challenged. It's a lot dealing with some of those situations, particularly persons who may be visually impaired, because they go to a specialized school. They do not go to the normal, the regular schools that you find other persons go to. People with hearing impairment. So it's more expensive to fund their kind of schooling. In what way can we make it easy for them to have access to education?
Again, the more fundamentally the challenge in that for special education, it's actually called special education. Challenge is culture again, where people are physically challenged, people try to put them behind the door, and for cultural reasons. So the effort is that there are framework for specialized education. So people should assess those special needs education places by the federal, local government. They have all those in place. So that cultural inhibition that seems to put people behind the door because they are physically challenged must be removed. That veil must be removed so that we encourage people in that area so that they can have access to education. When schools are designed, they must take cognizance of those special needs so that we can pull them into the net to enhance literacy level and enhance education in general.
I want to take us back to the question Blessing asked before the one she just asked. You know, so we are taking a step back. The thing about training a girl child. In the West, I don't think they have that problem. You know, about saying I would train my boy instead of my girl. I think it's something to do with mainly the African nation and all, which brings us to superstition. There's a saying that if you train a girl, you train a nation, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So if you train a girl, it brings enlightenment to not just the family, but the nation. So how well would you say Nigerians are doing in that aspect so far?
I think there's a great improvement in that. Mm-hmm. But again, if you go to rural communities, such inhibitions are still there. So the level of awareness, which is education, this day, particularly today, which is World Literacy Day, is to create awareness, to highlight some of these challenges that inhibit the girl-child education. So the awareness must continue. Then we must encourage people to send the girl child to school. Like you said earlier, once you educate a girl, you educate a nation. So that's key. But the dynamics in terms of the girl child enrollment has improved in recent time.
You know, this brings me to what Vivian mentioned earlier. When you talked about being literate could be seen as the ability to read and write, she talked about, what about the ability to think? So that brings us to quality education, the quality of our educational system. How can we reform our educational system so we're not just turning out people who, at the end of the day, all they can basically do is just mainly read and write? Yeah. Because we find a situation where people read just to pass exams. Now, after exams are over, you ask them that same thing. It's like they were never there. I think that should be when we talked about education. Someone here mentioned that a graduate of geography and regional planning was asked what is geography, and he could not answer. And he came out with a second-class lower division, but he could not answer what geography is. How do we reform our educational system to the point where it is not for people to parade certificates, but they actually know what it means to have that certificate? They can contribute to national development because for real, they are educated. They're not just able to read and write.
All right, thank you. I think essentially is we have to de-emphasize paper qualification as the basis of assessment in terms of how we can contribute to national development. That's on the one hand. But what is important is that in spite of these challenges, you have very smart and bright people there. But then, when you look at education from a holistic point of view, you have different units. So maybe we should be emphasizing technical education in such a way that once you are not able to get into the polytechnic or the university, there are other channels of education that people can take advantage of. So the reform we are talking about is to balance the polytechnic education, university education at the tertiary level. Then you talk about basic technical education at the foundation. So everybody has a space to play. All right? So the reform in terms of quality, in terms of access, in terms of the curriculum, and in terms of which kind of education we should emphasize as a nation. Those policy framework are there, but then we must find a way to scale them up and let people not emphasize paper qualification as a basis of national development.
Listen, I don't know if you remember in those days. See, I'm sounding old.
Please, don't say those days. We have an elder in our presence. We can't be saying those days.
We can't say those days. He's going to speak to this as well. Where you had technical colleges.
Yes.
Looks like they're dead.
A lot of them are actually, except for a few. And I think that the plan that informed the setting up of technical college did not continue, because many of them have been converted to regular secondary schools with the normal curriculum that you will find schools have. And I think what also contributed to that was a kind of stigma associated with that, where some of them are seen as artisans and not actually educated people. But if we structure it to an extent that it's a structured vocational center,
it sounds
and
respectful.
the certificate that they are given is not in any way placed less than those of people who didn't go to vocational schools, that would help. And also, there are equipment. Those kind of schools demand special teachers. Do we still have those kind of special teachers? Because if you're doing vocational study, it is not for a teacher who teaches regular subjects to handle. There are special trainings for such things. So that's where government needs to have a plan like that. You have maybe for the teacher training college or for the institutions where you have the teachers trained, they have to be retrained on modern way of passing on those kind of knowledge. The equipment should be there. And then the regularization of the certificates. Because why would I want to go to school for the same number of years as you? I come up with a certificate and I'm placed lower than you simply because mine has to do with technical education. When I should even be celebrated because I can handle certain skills that will bring about development. I can produce things that you would even need. So these are some of the issues that have led to the death of technical colleges that we have.
It's just like the HND, BSc dichotomy.
Yes.
Right. Do you want to speak to this technical college death? Did you know
Yeah, I think the vocational study centers are there. There was a dearth in that regard for some time, but there's an improvement in those centers. But what is key, like I mentioned earlier, is that we must de-emphasize paper qualification. What can you bring to the table in terms of the vocation and the skill set that you have to deliver value to society? So it's important that you must have set of graduates, whether they are HND holder, whether they are degree holder. They must have other set of people who have technical competencies from Vocational Studies Center that we help to drive technology, as it were. So there must be a balance between a polytechnic certificate holder, degree holder, and those who are from Vocational Studies Center who have technical skills that drive industry, and technology is able to play in a way that we can benefit from that sector. So we must strike a balance in terms of the way our curriculum and education is structured.
Here, on a day like this, the advocacy for increased literacy level cannot just be swept under the carpet, because there are more advocacy. There are programs going on in different parts of countries, in different cities, where NGOs and other groups talk about the need for people to be literate. But I think that one thing this day should even help us to do is to look at the possibility of having lifelong learning. There are people who are at the early stage of their life could not have access to education. Adult learning centers. How can we have more of that? Now, these are mostly handled by private sector, where you just have maybe one individual set up a school for adult learning. But incorporating that into our educational system, where it is easy for people to even have access to education at a later stage in life.
You have a lot of adult education center, and there's a policy framework at the federal, state, and local government that support that initiative. So that awareness is what we're trying to create, and more people should have access through those processes. In addition to that, beyond the adult education perspective, you have what you call self-directed learning. You must not always learn from a classroom environment. There are people who can self-educate themselves by self-development, by reading books on their own. There are a lot of people that develop themselves in those processes. So the awareness and the campaign must support people that it's not when you go through the four walls of a polytechnic or a university or a technical college that you can get education. You can self-direct your own learning once those opportunities there, even if you didn't have those opportunities at the basic education level. So the emphasis and the campaign is to support adult education and self-directed learning.
You know, this brings me to homeschooling. It brings me to homeschooling. I mean, it's in the West, it's very, you know, it's common. But back here in Nigeria, do we have homeschooling where parents decide not to send their children to school or decide to teach them themselves?
There may be pockets of those practice, but not an elaborate concept that we practice. But that's why Earlier, I mentioned self-directed learning, where you don't have opportunity for a formal education. You can make an arrangement for a coach or a teacher to put you that processes.
Yeah, I know that there are different types of literacy, because gone are the times where people just think that being literate means that, oh, you can go to school and learn the regular subjects and then you come out of it. Now, when with the advent of computer science or computer studies, we began to see that there are different kinds of literacy, because even though you have a BSc at that time and someone asks, are you computer literate? You say no. So in that area, you are an illiterate. Now, this brings me to our curriculum. How should our curriculum be? Now, we find that in schools, schools have different curriculum. If you go to the public school, they have a unified curriculum. If you go to different private school, from private school A and B, the curriculum differs. And these days, we're having international schools. And sometimes the way they are named suggests maybe a combination of different kinds of curriculum that may look like it's even going to confuse the students more. You have British, American, Nigerian International School. So at that point, I'm wondering, what is going to be taught there? Is it British curriculum, Nigerian curriculum, United States curriculum? You know, different kinds of international schools. How can we have a harmonized curriculum that teaches what, based on our need, teaches people to be able to provide solutions to our needs, rather than just for the sake of maybe having a kind of status? I went to British American school in Nigeria.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Blessing. All right, I think the key issue here is that when you talk about curriculum, there's a universal basic curriculum that we subscribe to as a country. Though you have pockets of schools, British Indian school, Nigerian British
Oh, I didn't even know there's British Indian.
Yes,
wow.
there is.
Okay,
but
maybe
what
British
those
Chinese,
schools, yeah, maybe there are some nationals who are not Nigerians, who are domiciled in our country, and some prepare their children and ward to go back to their country so that they can use their country curriculum. Though you have the pockets of Nigerians who are in those schools.
Did you say pockets? We find lots of them.
No,
and
the point
it
I'm
seems
trying
like
to
a
make is
status
that
thing.
the curriculum that we have as a country is basic to every school, at the basic school, tertiary, and all that. Then you have these pockets of schools, Indian British school, Nigerian British school, whatever the name is called. What is key is that those curriculum have some semblance of the curriculum that is practiced in those countries. So they prepare some of those pupils or students in those schools for the British curriculum for advanced level certificate. But then that certificate and the preparations are made in Nigeria. So that does not take essentially from the curriculum. But if you want to speak specifically to the issue of harmonization and how we can benefit from the curriculum in terms of technical education, adult education, so that we have specific people that address specific sector of the Nigerian economy, then that's a subject for another day. So we need to improve on technical education, vocational study, then strengthen the curriculum in line with industry practice. So the point I can get from that question is that universities must relate with industry, what you call the Turn and Gun initiative, where courses are designed in line with what the industry require to boost national productivity. So those are the conversations that we should be having. To what extent can we tinker with some of those traditional courses that are not relevant to industry at this particular point in time? How do we scale up technology to enhance learning, particularly on the undergraduate, at the postgraduate level, even at the PhD level? So those are the conversations that we must sustain. Technology is a driver. So how do we harmonize technology into learning? How do we look at critical sector within the economy and the university designed courses? Okay, talking about solid mineral. So are we still talking about the elementary seismic studies? What are the new trends in those industries? So we're able to respond and remain relevant with global best practices.
You know, talking about relevance, let me take us back to one of the questions Blessings asked earlier. Was it a statement you made? She talked about the different types of literacy.
Yes.
Right? So you have cultural literacy, you have financial literacy, you have digital literacy. Now this is a privileged information. I witnessed you receiving digital training yesterday. Right? Right? Am I right? Yeah. So it's essential in this age for us to be digitally literate.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Oh yes, there are all kinds of literacy. When you talk about financial literacy, digital literacy, even leadership, you have to be literate in those areas. So we're talking foundationally at about the knowledge level. That's what you call CAS, knowledge, attitude, and skill. So these three elements must always work in harmony. So we're just talking basic education, the foundation of learning, where you deal with logic, puzzles, thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, and all those. Then in addition to that, you must, even when you have a foundation subject knowledge in a critical area, but then you may not really be literate even with that knowledge that you have. So you need to upscale your skill and attitude set to be able to navigate that your knowledge space so that you become more useful to yourself first and foremost, to your immediate community, and to the larger society. So the literacies are still part of the learning ecosystem that we must sustain over a period of time.
Yeah, but how well do you think Nigeria is harnessing digital literacy at the most basic level? I mean, every child has most children I see these days have a mobile phone.
If you talk about digital literacy, I think the prospects are very high, and at the basic level, I think is a key element. So there's no way you can even progress without being digitally literate. So at the foundational level, the IT skill set of those basic people is far even greater than some of us at this age. So it's something that we must encourage, and I think even as a country, we're not doing too badly. We have a lot of people in the IT space that are breaking records all over the world. So I think we're
talking
doing well
about records. Some girls from Federal Girls College in Ogun State broke the record of actually designing a robot. Yeah, and that happened sometime last month. So yes, we're not doing badly, but we can do even better. Make it easy for those in public primary schools, public secondary schools to have access to digital education, not just those in private school. And if you've been able to acquire the basic education, or been able to acquire education, which is the foundational stage of learning, I think you will do yourself a lot of good by proceeding to have other kinds of literacy. It could be digital literacy, it could be financial literacy. Now here, we emphasize that because it is key to what will help you make informed decisions for your business. And then leadership too, that is very key to having development, widespread development in Nigeria and in Africa. Thank you very much, Sam Ruju, for being with us on the topic today, International Literacy Day.
My pleasure for having me.
Thank you.
We're going to quick break and return to look at a type of business I talked about at the start of the show. This kind of business helps everyone looks good, not just Vivian and I. It is referred to as the business of looking good. And they often say, looking good is good business. So we turn to the beauty and personal care industry after this break. Please stay tuned. Thanks for staying tuned to Early Exchange on Sook News. It's still a day to talk about different important things. We've looked at International Literacy Day, and now we'll go into the beauty and personal care industry. Now, this is a very vast and dynamic industry where a wide range of products are designed just to help people improve on their looks, feel comfortable with themselves, and to be more appealing. Yeah, so it has taken a lot of a different shape over time. Different innovations have happened. Before, it used to be like something meant for women alone. But we've seen that these days, even men are beginning to take care of themselves. By that, I mean use a lot of beauty products to take care of themselves, to look very nice. And we have a lot of Nigerians now go into the beauty industry full-time. By the way, Nigeria contributes significantly to the beauty market in Africa, not just Africa, globally. So it's a very big industry that is worth millions of dollars. We have Nigerians now producing certain beauty products that before this time you have to import them. They were mainly produced by countries in the West. But because I talked about the shift or the trend, how it is evolved, we now have men taking care of themselves. Let's begin looking at men's grooming as we talk about beauty and personal care. And we have someone who will be joining us via Zoom. We have Grace Collins, a skincare specialist, joining us this morning. Good morning, Grace. Good morning, Grace. Can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself, please, so we can hear you? All right. While Grace is trying to get her system to work so we can have a smooth conversation. Yeah, so when we talk about skincare for men, I've been to a spa once where I found that a man was having pedicure, manicure and pedicure done for him. And then after that, he went on to have facials, and I was like, really? Really? At that time, it was shocking for me because...
This was how long?
Let's say about 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. So
right now is the norm.
Now it's the normal thing. It's the normal thing. And I have some friends who run that kind of business, and from what they tell me, it seems like men even pay more for skincare therapies and treatments to be done. But looking at the kind of industry we have, if you go over to social media, you have different people coming up to say, I'm a skincare therapist, I'm a skincare specialist, and it's just like it puts in your face different people in the same market, and somehow you're confused. You don't know who to deal with. You don't know which products to buy. From the consumer perspective, what should you look at when you see different skincare specialists advertise? What are the things to consider before making your decision on who to patronize?
You know, this thing you just said about men trying to look beautiful these days.
Let's not say they're trying to look beautiful. They may fight us over that. Trying to look good.
So I'm going to ask if there's any man I see the next minute, I'm going to ask, what is beauty to him?
Okay.
What's beauty to a man? See, these days, beauty is not just skin deep.
Oh.
Right? Starts from the mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, one thing I wanted to point out, you talked about how it has become a multi-billion-dollar business.
Yes.
Now, this is a report by Statista. It says the revenue in the beauty and personal care market amounts to
blessing
$579.20 billion US dollars as in 2023. That is worldwide, right? But in Nigeria, it has become a $7.87 billion industry.
Wow.
In Nigeria.
That's huge.
That's huge.
That's big deal, you know? And people are smiling to the bank. I'm sure Sarah, I guess she's Sarah, right?
Yes, Grace, rather.
She's Grace. She's going to be telling us if she's one of those that has been smiling to the bank when it comes to...
Talking about smiling to the bank, are we making other people, I mean, manufacturers from Western countries, from other countries, smile more to the bank because we have more foreign products in the beauty industry. How many of Nigerian-made products do you have? Even for maybe some skincare specialists who are now making their own kinds of products, which a lot of times they refer to as organic products. Yes, maybe those ones are manufacturing by themselves. So if we have a multi-billion industry, how much of it comes back to the Nigerian economy?
Wow, that's a big question. But how many Nigerians want to patronize, made in Nigeria?
I asked you the question.
You asked me,
what would inform your decision on which skincare specialist to patronize?
Absolutely.
Now, one of the things is that the quality of the product. How safe is the product that you are going to purchase from that person? Those are the things that will determine whether or not Nigerians want to patronize made in Nigerian beauty products or foreign-made beauty products, because the skin is something that is very delicate and nobody wants to have your skin go bad by using any kind of product. So it's the fear regarding the quality of the product that makes some people want to prefer foreign-made products. But if we have some form of regulation that sanitizes the beauty industry, so whatever product you are getting, for real, this product has been approved by the regulatory agency and is safe for use. Because except those where you find labeled, that probably has NAFDAC number and they've been approved, those are the ones that you can actually buy. But for the other ones, some come unbranded. So how safe are those products? So these are some of the issues.
When it comes to unbranded goods, count me out.
But you have people giving testimonies, you have people giving reviews that they've used it and it really worked well for them. But what about the long-term effect of using those products? So this are some of the questions that Grace Collins will answer for us. Hello, Grace. Can you unmute yourself, please?
I'm unmuted.
Okay, could you project more so we can hear you clearly?
Alright.
I need you to speak louder. All right, so looking at the beauty industry, can you tell us some of the innovations and the trend in that industry?
Well, for myself, this month I have done quite a bit of research, and there's quite a lot of trends. And I had one of the questions we should ask is what are the difference of this unbranded products and all that. So back to your question, you just asked how we just So the trends, yes. So we are in the era since 2020, yeah, this year, and even up to 10 years to come, we've been seeing a lot of brands come out and everybody sell something. Everybody thinks that it has something that they want to offer. So every day a new product is introduced into the market, and some persons want to try it out. Let me try this on my skin. So there's this I want to glow. Yeah. There's this I want to glow. Everybody wants to try.
Grace, you still need to project more.
Right? Okay.
I can barely hear you. I think your mic is far from you. Can you bring your mic closer to you?
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Okay, so looking at the beauty segment, we have men now appreciating the need to improve their look and personal care. How's that going?
Well, just like you said earlier, like when we were saying that, you said that was like from it's such a soon recently that 54% stage of men who were not involved in any
All right, Grace, you need to hold on. Let's go on a quick break and then we'll return to continue the conversation. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you for staying with us. We're still looking at men's grooming as we'll talk about the beauty and personal care industry. All right, now there's some products that men really patronize. You have the shave and aftershave products, and then you also have, like we talked about, skincare, and then how they also patronize skincare specialists these days. But like every other person who uses skincare, the worry is the effects or whatever product you're using on the skin over a long period of time. So how can we make it, as much as we're promoting the skincare business, we're also promoting that people use products that are healthy for them, particularly for those who want to make some changes to their skin color or their skin tone?
Well, it comes to you knowing your brand and also you understanding your body, your skin, to know what it reacts to or not. You talked earlier on about the NAFDAC number and unbranded products. It's definitely not wise to use unbranded products. So you have to be very, very particular as per the brand you use. You take a look at the products used to manufacture the whatever you're using and all of that. No, you talked about men paying particular attention to their beard and their skin.
Yes.
They also are spending let me not exaggerate, lots of money on their hair. You know, men carry coily hair these days. Yeah.
And I think that the entertainment industry is also enhancing the demand that the beauty industry is saying, because people want to copy what they see. When they look at their favorite celebrities, when you look at their favorite actors, favorite musicians, they want to look like them. And so they also want to look clean and having those kind of hairstyles that we're seeing. And the shift in, there's been a cultural shift that has enhanced this too. Like I talked about earlier, that before this time, men didn't really want to have any business with beauty care products. In fact, if you find a man applying as simple as the white powder, it seemed like, oh, you have time, or like his folks would often chime at him, like, you have time doing that. But these days, you find men taking conscious steps to enhance the look. When you go to a barber shop before, it was just about hair, having a haircut, not much done. But these days they do different kinds of styling. They do treatments, even for the hair and beards, you know, all of those things. But is there any downside to this? Men getting very actively involved in the beauty industry as consumers?
I think the more comfortable you are in your skin, the better. If you're comfortable in your appearance, you carry yourself better. Now, this is what happened when we did some research on why men use these beauty products. And they said they generally wanted to look better and they wanted to look younger.
Wow, that's good. So the online thing, as the e-commerce market, has made it even very possible for players in the beauty industry to have access to a wide range of consumers. It has also helped them study the behavior of their consumers. If you notice, by the time you like a particular product, maybe you've seen the advert online, you get other kinds of products in that line. You get to see them more. So the e-commerce thing has made it very possible too for those in the industry to have, like I said, access to more consumers, as much as it has made it easier for the consumers to have access to different skincare specialists, different skincare products, and the Western influence. Because you look at the hair market, for instance, a lot of African women want to have hair that look like that of Europeans. They look like those from other continents, maybe Asia and Indians, for instance. So this is creating a high demand for those kind of products. And you find that people are buying more of Brazilian hair, Peruvian hair. But the question is, we have, before that time, we also have our own hairstyle. Even for the guys that are wanting to add some coil to their hair and all, we also have the African hairstyle. Is there a way to transfer influence to, not just accepting Western influence in the way we want to look, which is the trend now that we see in the beauty market? Is there a way to sell our own kind of look so that we can also tap into the foreign markets?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you take a look at some of the movies, you see Nigerian ladies wearing not just kinky braids or all of that, but real African hairdos. That's one of the ways to sell your culture, abroad. That's one of the ways. So I think the better question will be, how do we export our own looks?
Okay.
And not just import foreign.
Yes, that's what I asked.
Yeah, basically that's it. So one of the drivers these days is social media and the entertainment industry. Nollywood, for example, is big, not only in Africa, right, but also in the Western parts of the world. If in Nollywood we focus on looking African, trust me, we will definitely successfully export African looks.
Not just looking African, but beautifully African.
Beautifully
because
African,
in some Nollywood movies where the costume is African, it's done in a way that it doesn't actually show beauty. You find maybe a village scene, people wearing things that used to be worn in the old. The makeup that they wear looks so old, and you wouldn't think that someone from another country would want to look like that way in recent time. So I think we need to find a way to modernize our African look in a way that is appealing, and that way we can also have influence. It may not actually be with maybe the makeup, but with the hairstyle, with the hairdo, things like that.
And we have beautiful fashion designs these days, and all.
Yes, accessories to go with it. So these are some of the things that we can begin to export. All right, that's it on this topic, looking at men's grooming as it concerns the beauty and personal care. We'll take a break and look at other aspects of the beauty and personal care industry. Stay tuned.
What was behind it? What is behind every raise is that the entrepreneur founder is diluted significantly. We had a very interesting session, and in one of the sessions there was a role play about a case study on CWG PLC, which is a company that I founded, and the case was written by Columbia Business School to discuss a point about venturing, about entrepreneurship, and about funding for the enterprise. And the case ended on a question: should Austin Okere take the venture capital investment or should he reject it? Just a little bit of background. So this is a company, CWG, in 2005 that was doing very well. It was riding on the back of the Y2K that just happened at the turn of the century, was riding on the back of the telecom boom that happened immediately after the civilian government of OBJ and GSM was launched, was riding on the back of the bank consolidation in 2005 that was done by Governor Soludo. And in each of these booms, CWG had positioned and taken good advantage. So this is not a company that was in dire need of cash or was desperate in 2005. But we had a plan to list our shares on the stock market, and we thought that the best way to do it was to first do either a private placement or, better still, to do a venture capital fundraise so that they will bring discipline into our operations, governance, strengthen our governance, and of course, bring more technical knowledge. And if people saw that this company was invested in you, probably it will make the listing on the stock exchange more attractive. The issue here is at what price? And I remember that I've discussed something similar on this on social media, where many Nigerian young companies were celebrating, wow, we raised Series C, we raised Series D. And anytime they raised these monies, everybody hailed them. But what was behind it? What is behind every raise is that the entrepreneur founder is diluted significantly. So if I use CWG as a case study, the case that was written by Columbia was that there was an offer of $8 million for 25% of the company, putting the valuation post at $32 million. Make no mistake, the Treasury bill's interest rate is 15% sometimes. Now, if someone is going to bring his money to invest in your company, he's looking for way more than that 15%, given that there's a high risk that his money will not come back. And the rule of thumb is that they're looking for 3 times what they brought in within 5 years. So in our case, they were going to be asking for $24 million within 5 years, or you list and give them a liquidity event or an exit. You have to check very well that this $8 million that you're taking in, you can do business in such a way that the value of the company can cough out $24 million in 5 years, regardless of exchange loss. Here is where it gets complicated. So you receive $8 million, which is converted to you in Naira. 2005 probably was about 130. Now, whether the Naira suffers devaluation or not, you're going to pay that $8 million. Now, paying $8 million, 5 years later, where the Naira is maybe 250 or 260, whilst you are generating your revenue in Naira, becomes almost impossible. And if the venture capital firm then has to take assets because you can't pay, he will end up owning, of course, a big chunk of your company. If nothing at all, you begin to look like a management staff in the company you founded. So in our own case, we held out and we didn't take the money. And in 2009, when we took a subsequent one, the company was valued at $55 million, plus that there'd been an exchange loss. So the company was valued much more than the $32 million, and plus the fact that in Naira terms, they would have owned more of our company. My point being, don't sell your seed. Rather, till your seeds, let it grow into a fruit, and sell at the fruit, because the fruit is plentiful. A lot of our startups rush out to sell their seed, and they sell it cheap. To complete that story, we actually then listed the company in 2013 for $90 million. Now, I did a rough calculation. If we were in dire need of money and we borrowed $8 million at an interest rate of 20%, at that time, Naira, we'll be returning Naira money, and we'll be returning something like, even if you take 100%, we'll be returning another $8 million in 5 years' time. But given that the company's valuation had gone to $55 million in that time, 2009, when the second PE company invested, we would have been better off taking the debt, because we'll be returning an extra $8 million, rather than 8 times 3, which is 24, that would have had to give $24 million that would have had to pay the VC company if we had taken the money at that time. So the delta is huge in terms of debt versus equity. So the point is, at some point in time, equity seems cheap, deceptively, but debt is cheaper. Especially at the early stages, what you have is a seed. You don't sell your seed. Have patience, hone it, bootstrap it, take debt to finance specific deals, makes you disciplined, and then when you have your fruit, you can then invite investors to come, and you make more, and you don't lose a huge percentage of your company. You actually do still own a huge percentage of your company. Be patient. Don't rush out to collect funds and celebrate it. You will have to pay back. Thank you.
Thank you for being there. All right, let's look at beauty and wellness. So we've been talking about the beauty and personal care industry, and we've mentioned that it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, both globally and in Nigeria. So looking at beauty and wellness, in the beauty and wellness segment, there are different kinds of businesses that fall under this. This is where you have the spa, that offer different kinds of special skincare treatments, massages, and all of that, things like manicure and pedicure, just to help people relax and to feel rejuvenated. Now, at a time like this is the end of the week, so we're already in the weekend. After work, a lot of persons will want to just relax and take away the stress of the week. So places like this help people to actually do that.
Absolutely. But if you can't afford to go to places like this, you could also concentrate on the wellness angle. You talked about it being beauty and wellness.
Yes.
But this is what the WHO said, that wellness is the act of practicing healthy habits on a daily basis in order to be physically and mentally fit. You know, this thing about mental fitness is key. It's germane.
Very, very key.
And then one of the healthy habits we could engage in, it's not costly, it's very cheap. It's the cheapest thing, water. 8 glasses.
Drink a lot of water.
Yeah, 8 glasses a day. That's a healthy habit. That's wellness. You don't have to go to a spa to get that information or to do that, right? That's one of the healthy habits I try to imbibe. I don't know if you have any healthy habits you do.
Yes, there are other kinds of exercises that help you relax and just take the stress away. People do yoga these days, which for people who do yoga, they tell you it helps them meditate. It helps them just kind of decompress.
Yeah, but do you do yoga?
I tried once or twice,
I
think but it's not very easy to, especially when you maybe live in a place like Lagos with all the busyness of the environment, the noise and buzz, to get home and actually try to concentrate, because to effectively do that, you need to be able to meditate and just relax. And there's some exercises too that when you're done, I do a bit of exercises. When you're done, it just kind of frees you up. It aids blood circulation, and you begin to enjoy the effects later on. So this is some of the things that people can do when it comes to wellness. So even in what you eat, some wellness center would tell you the kind of diet that is fit for you. Some even have products that they sell to people to help them handle their day-to-day activities so that they're not fatigued easily, things like that. So let's have someone who's into the beauty and wellness business talk to us more about it. Yewande Adebayo will be joining us via Zoom on the discussion. Good morning, Yewande. Hello, Yewande. Can you unmute yourself and let's know how the beauty and wellness business is like for you?
Can you hear me now?
Of course, we can hear you loud and clear. So a lot has happened in the beauty
good morning.
industry. Good morning, Yewande. Thank you for joining us on Early Exchange.
My name is Sarah. My name is Sarah, not Yewande. I'm Sarah.
Or apologies for that. You know, we have different aspects of the beauty and personal care industry to look at. And we have lots of your colleagues on the line. So I missed your name. So Sarah, talk to us about beauty and wellness and how Nigerians have accepted that.
The thing is, talking about beauty. Beauty is wellness totally. Beauty is being healthy. It's not about the products that you use most times. It depends on what you take in, what you can merge together to add beauty to yourself. It's when you say someone is beautiful, it's beyond the appearance, it's beyond the outfit that the person is wearing. It's the when you look at the person's skin, you look at how the person is carrying his or herself. So that's basically beauty. Do you understand me? So talking about beauty now, beauty and wellness, everything goes hand in hand with wellness, fitness, dieting, you watching what you eat, you knowing the right time to eat, you knowing, okay, this is what is good for my body, you know your allergies. That's basically the main thing for beauty and wellness.
All right. In ensuring that people look better, they appear better, and they're also well in terms of what they eat too. How much of Nigerian participation do we have in the manufacturing of some of these products that are used in the beauty industry?
A lot of people have really gotten involved in beauty and wellness. They've gotten involved in taking care of themselves, knowing what to eat, knowing what to do, especially Nigerians. And that is why you see lots of brands coming up. You hear this one say for you to glow, for you to do this, and most people get into the wrong hands, trying to fit into that class, trying to get that desired skin that they think they need without going through the right way. Because if, for example, you are using a particular product that does not resonate with your skin, you surely have breakouts. You surely have things that you bring out things that does not align with your skin. But I think everyone just needs to have this particular, know the exact thing that works for them and goes for you. Just like what you eat, what you take in. Because most times I might eat rice, I might eat fried rice, and it goes well with my system, but someone else can eat it and the person is stooling. So I think, but Nigeria basically, we just believe that most people believe that let me just eat anything I see. But it is very important. And I won't lie to you, Nigerians have started, we've developed this habit of trying to take care of our skin, trying to watch what we eat, but there are still lots of people out there that don't have an idea about what beauty and wellness is, about what you need to eat. They, maybe it can be because of, but the major factor can be the food aspect of it. A lot of people just wake up, they don't have enough, so they just feel like, let me eat to just fill up my tummy. So, but if you talk about skincare, I can definitely say a lot of people have gotten involved in it, especially those that have the money to buy products, to buy things. The ratio has risen, it has gone up. Like I was talking to someone recently and I was telling the person that, okay, the person has a spa and she was telling me that majority of the people that even patronizes her is not what's it called? Is not women, men, even men these days, they are getting involved in beauty and wellness. They want to smell nice, they want to look nice. I also saw a trend on Instagram recently where someone was saying, she said she told her friends, her guy friends, to send her pictures of their perfume, and she was shocked, like, wow. So so this guy can actually have this. So this guy can actually have this. Then she decided to say, okay, let me go for skincare. Show me your skincare. And she was also amazed. She was astonished by all the skincare products they had and all of that. So a lot of people are putting a lot, and TikTok has really promoted
Okay,
skincare.
let me come in, Sarah. Let me
TikTok,
come in
that's one
here.
of the,
Let me come in here. So you
okay.
are a plus size model and a beauty influence,
Yes,
fashion
yes.
influencer, you know, and
Influencers.
you're very
Yes,
comfortable
yes,
in your skin, right? So I would like us to talk about some of
yes.
the other, yeah, trends, you know, in the beauty industry that's made the most impact this year. Let's talk about biotechnology, for example, like bringing science into beauty. You know, Blessing talked about organic products and all of that.
Yeah.
People, you know, consumers now are very specific about what they want to use. They want to use healthy products. So tell us about your experience, though. What are the beauty trends that have made the most impact this year, 2023?
The thing is, for the use of science in beauty, in the beauty industry, it's new, and the current biotechnology trend is taking the science of beauty to a whole new level. Actually, these trends pair with different and with mega trends of sustainability. A lot of people, a large volume of people wants to sustain beauty. It has risen over 700% since 2019. Everyone wants to look beautiful. Everyone wants to smell nice. Everyone wants to come out and heads are turning. Wow, so this is the person. So this is that. And experts have said that it is not suitable to grow beauty ingredients on a large scale because presently a large scale of people have decided to take their beauty and their fitness um, health seriously. The use of they've considered in production of all those large scale materials and all of that, and it has affected them to an extent. But it's a plus one also because a lot of people now get to see that you need to take care of yourself, you need to take care of your skin. Even trends has come out, trends like what's it called, products like, are you there?
Of course. Yes, we're here.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go
Okay.
ahead, Sarah.
Trend like you see products, yes, you see a lot of people promoting products for sunscreen. You have to wear your sunscreen. It's been emphasized that make use of your sunscreen, especially because of our weather here in Nigeria. So it has grown tremendously. And being a plus size for me, there are certain products that I can use, especially the fact that we have difficulties with some things, like you go a certain place and someone is seeing you sweating. I've gone out before and someone has said that, Why are you sweating like this? And I'm like, I don't get, am I not a human? Am I not human rather? Why won't I sweat? And I'm like, okay. And the person is trying to recommend the product to me, and I'm like, I make use of that product too. And she was shocked, like, okay. So I just feel like, regardless of the body size, regardless of what you do, you can still you can still slay. I make use of that word often. You can slay. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about slaying and the kind of products people use to slay, okay? How has our culture influenced the kinds of products that are demanded? We see a kind of shift away from chemical products to natural products, which would seem to have. How much of that has the beauty industry tapped into or harnessed?
I would like to first point out something. A lot of people say they do natural, they do organic. Uh, I don't know, but for me, I feel it takes a lot for someone to say they want to do natural products and do organic products. Do you understand me? Take for example, okay, I also have a skincare brand that I run, but I had to put it on hold because I tried getting other things involved. I make my black soap. I get it directly from Ghana and all of that. The water that is used to cook the black soap. But a lot of people don't know about that. I was talking to someone when I was still doing that. I spoke to her, I said, how do you get your products? Because at the end of the day, I see you selling for 12,000, 15,000. How do you get your product? She said, yeah, she just goes to the popular market in Lagos and she gets that. And I was shocked. Like, so what do you mix and all of that? So a lot of people get mistaken by natural and organic. And now they've misused that word. They've misused the word of natural organic because you still see them adding chemicals into those things and it spoils the skin. I tell my customers then when I was still making, I do only soap. So I tell them that I'm not doing a bleaching soap. I'm not doing a toning soap. I'm doing a soap that will complement your skin, that will moisturize your skin. So everyone wants to look a certain way, especially I would say the Gen Zs. They want to, if they see today the trend is for light skin, they want to be light skin. The trend is for melanin, they just want to go with every trend. But a lot of people don't know our skin is different.
All right.
What can work for you might not work for me. Yes.
Okay, Sarah, while you were talking, you said some people say they're doing natural products and some say they're doing organic. That seems to imply that there's a difference between natural products and organic products. But going by the meaning of the word organic and natural, they are the same thing, or is it different when it comes to skincare?
Um, Saying natural products are products that have not been refined, that have not been turned to anything. And organic products are most of them are already refined. Like the black soap is gotten from the bark of tree, the back of a tree. So they need to process it. There are things that they have to eat, boil it, and all of that before it becomes black soap, and they now sell it out. That's the Ghana black soap. That is that is organic. But natural, let's say honey, you are going to the farm and you're getting your honey from the roots, you are getting your coconut oil from the roots and all of that, then you can call that natural.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. All right, you also talked about sourcing your black soap from Ghana. Can't that be sourced from Nigeria as well? So the source of the materials, the source of some of the, whether organic products or natural product, the choice of where to source, what informs it?
The thing is, why it was my choice actually to decide to get straight from Ghana, because before I started, I spoke to certain people that stay in Ghana. I made research and all of that, and they gave me their honest review, and they connected me with the roots, like where they get it itself. So I decided that I wanted to, and most of the ones being sold in Nigeria, they are mixed. They are Nigerian black soap. Yes. So it's been mixed here in Nigeria, but I believe, okay, I won't say yes, it's 100%, but I believe from the people that I'm getting from that they are the direct source. Even my shea butter that I use for my skin, I get it directly from Ghana too. Yes. So
Okay, and yeah, go
I
ahead.
just believe is what, yes, I just believe is what you want. Yes. And me, I think I prefer the fact that it's better for me to have that thinking or be rest assured that where I'm getting it from, my source is giving me the right thing, than for me to now go to the market and I'm buying something and I'm looking at it like this does not tally.
You know, you talked about using what you want. According to a cosmetic giant based in Finland, 68%
Yeah.
of people are looking for products described as clean, and 59% of people
Mm.
are influenced by products that are described as natural and organic. So I'd like to ask, are you one of those that want products that are described clean, and what would you call a clean product?
Um, for me, it's not about what is called, it's what works for me. It's about what works for me. Because if, for example, I say everyone is using the clean product, and I can't really specify which products are clean and which products are not clean. Do you understand me? So I can only say go for what works for you, because what can work for A may not work for B, might not work for C. I had a client one time. She stays abroad. She stays at Texas. She told me, "Ah, my friends are saying they like my skin, blah blah blah. Okay, can you send me so number of soap so I can do this, so I can sell to them?" I sent it to her, and some of her friends got the soap, and they were shocked, like, how come it's not working for me? I had to ask her that. Ask them the cream that they are applying on their skin. Ask them how they take care of their towel, because all these things work hand in hand. Your towel, your bedspread, your pillow, your what you use for your face, the products that you use, because you cannot be using you cannot be using a natural product or an organic product, and you are using another product that is clashing with it. For example, you are using a natural product for your skin. Black soap has its own exfoliator. And when you now say, because when you make black soap, me, I leave the patches, I leave all those, I don't blend it totally. So you can actually scrub it on your body, apply it, and leave it for some time. So it's equally an exfoliator. But a lot of people don't understand that they still apply scrub again after that. So I had to tell her that, talk to them, ask them, what cream do they apply? How many times do they wash their towel? How many times do they change their bedspread? How many times do they wash their face after makeup? Do they take a shower when they are back from work? So all those things, it's not about just getting a big product or getting products from the market and you're saying it's an individual thing. It's discipline. You being able to discipline yourself that weekly, even if I'm not always around or something. And a lot of people don't know you have to get a separate towel for your face. You have to get a separate towel for your skin, for your body,
You're
because
right.
the skin on your face is very sensitive than the one on your body. The one on your
Absolutely.
body can take some bacteria, but the one on your face can. So a lot of people need to know all these things and then work with it.
You know, Blessing and I were talking about literacy earlier on. It seems as if there's cosmetic literacy.
I'm getting to see that.
Yes.
Okay, so Sarah, now according to a non-partisan organization dedicated to health, it's called Environmental Working Group. It says that, this is huge for me, that the average person applies 9 personal care products to their body daily, and 1/4 of women apply 15 or more products each day. Is this a healthy habit?
Um, Basically, I'm not an expert at applying products. The little that I know, that is what I work with. I don't know. I see people on Instagram saying, apply this, apply your serum, apply your moisturizer, apply. If I apply all those things on my face or on my skin, I will break out. That's why I keep emphasizing that go with what works for you. If I'm going out in the morning or I'm leaving home, I use my cleanser. I don't scrub my skin. I won't lie because my skin is very, very sensitive. If I do that, the next minute you see a pimple, you see a breakout and all of that. So I try to avoid scrubbing, but I scrub the rest of my body. But when you see people saying they want to apply, they use their cleanser, they use their wash first, they use the cleanser, they use the serum, they use the moisturizer, then you apply sunscreen, and you are going out in Nigeria. What can work, or what works for those in the diaspora or abroad might not be working here because our weather is harsh. And at the end of the day, you get sunburn even with your sunscreen because those products that you've added are already. So for me personally, I believe you make use of two. Let's say you wash your face in the morning, you feel like using your cleanser, you can use your cleanser and then you apply your moisturizer and then your sunscreen. That works for me. Then in the evening, at night, your body is relaxed. That is the best time for you to use all the things you want to use. If you like, get thousands of products and you apply on your face or on your skin. If it works for you, you use it. At night, your skin is relaxed, your body is relaxed. You can even, I used to tell people the best time to even use sponge on your skin is at night because at that time it can wash off everything. You are relaxed, but not that you scrub. You use sponge on your skin with scrub, and then you go under the sun or you walk under the sun. It's it does not work. So most of those products are just, some of them do the same thing. I was talking to someone the other day. She was calling some products, and I was like, I don't understand. This product is the same with this. They just have different names. This thing is doing this other thing. Just apply serum on your face and your sunscreen and go out in the morning. Apply your gloss. You look perfect. You look good. You don't need all the millions of skincare for you to be able to see that your skin is good or you are doing good.
All
Yeah.
right. So we have a beauty market that is saturated with different kinds of products, as well as even the dealers. Because online, like you mentioned, you see some skincare specialists tell their customers what to apply. Apply these, apply that. So first of all, let's even look at the safety of some of these products. How safe are they? And then from the point of a consumer, what are the things you should consider before choosing who to deal with, which skincare specialist or which beauty specialist should you deal with, should you buy products from?
Talking about products, for me, apart from the products that I use, I would recommend products from UK or US because most of them have been tested. Some Korea products too are good. Products from China, they are good. But that particular one, products from China are basically for those that are light skin already. For me, I think that is it. For those that are light skin, it's more preferable because they do their products in a way whereby with time it lightens your skin. And that is why I tell some of my customers that think they want to get some of those products, I tell them, if you want to get this product, apply twice in a week. Apply twice a week, rather. Apply once a week. If your skin is very sensitive, once a week. And when you notice a breakout, you stop. There are some products from UK too that are like that. There are some products from US that are like that. So you just need to watch it. As it's been said, too much of everything is bad. So you just need to, when you notice a breakout, when you notice it's not working for you anymore, you draw back. Do you
So
understand
when you
me?
patronize products from the UK, from China, and these other countries you've mentioned, what happens to the beauty care experts and manufacturers from Nigeria and from other African countries? Is that to say the products are not safe and good enough for use?
Some of them, their products are very good. Some their products are good, but I've not tried any of them, and that is why I can't recommend anyone because it's been while I schooled for a while at Cotonou, and I did some research checking out their products in Cotonou and Togo. I got to realize that most of their products are for those that want to tone up, for those that want to, I don't know if I should use the word bleach. So most of their products are really um, sensitive to the skin. If you want to tone up, if you want to bleach, if you want to light up, then you go for all those Cotonou, Togo, some of the African countries, their products, I've not really made that research trying to check out all the products that they have available. But the few that I've been able to see that I've seen in Nigeria, it's, it's most of them are for those that want to lighten up and bleach. Then talking about Nigeria, um, we have the saying that appreciate the one you have. I don't know, I can't vouch for some Nigerian brands. I can actually vouch for Oriflame. I don't know if Oriflame, no, Oriflame is not, it's not a Nigerian brand. There are some people that are actually doing good in the skincare industry in Nigeria, but I've not had the opportunity to check out their products because I just feel like a lot of people might say this and it's not it. So,
Okay, why it is not actually your responsibility to check the quality of the product because you are not the agency, but what would you advise? What would help to standardize beauty products from Nigeria so that every consumer or whoever wants to buy feel relaxed knowing that they have been tested and they're good for use, just like you testified about products from some other countries?
I would say, just like the way we see reviews from other countries, um, although a lot of people say reviews lie too, because some people might just sit down, they type with their other phone to this other phone. Ah, this customer is saying they appreciate it, blah blah blah, and all of that. If you know someone that is using the product, and you can actually say this person is using this product, then you can go for it. If the person's skin has not, if after 3 months, if the person can tell you that this is the product I've been using for the past 3 months and I've not had any issues, I've not had, it's not possible for you to be using a product and you will not break out. A lot of people don't know this, especially when it's the time of the month and you are someone that breaks out, you will surely break out if you are using, whether you're using a product or not. But there are times that when you take sensitive, you use sensitive products on your skin, when it gets to the time of the month, you must break out. I break out most times, but not so much that a lot of people, wow, I
All
just
right, thank
lost
you very
line.
much. Thank you very much, Sarah. You talked extensively about different kinds of beauty products, how to know which one to use, which skincare specialist to patronize or which beauty specialist to patronize if you are a consumer. All right, I just want to say, Vivian, that I think it is high time that the regulatory agencies get up and do serious work in regulating the way in which different experts or different specialists come into the beauty industry and actually standardize this product so that if the product has not been tested, it should not in any way be in the market. Because from what Sarah has said, some of these products cannot actually be trusted. So you then have to depend on the testimony of the user. But does one person have to become maybe a lab rat, so to speak, having to experiment how good the product is, when we have an agency that can actually do that for us, testing? Now, I know that the agencies sometimes, a lot of times, do their work when some of these products submit their, some of these experts submit their products for testing. But I think it should go beyond waiting for them to come to you as far as monitoring, checking shops, checking dealers of this product. Where do these products come from? How safe are they? So that when we see a stamp on it, we know for sure this has been approved for consumption.
Regulation is key. I mean, there are no two ways about it. It's a very important thing. Also, one of the things I want to add is there are so many indices now that are impacting this beauty industry,
yes,
including technology, societal issues. Social media is key.
Yes.
I mean, it's that experts say consumers between the ages of 18 and 44 are most likely to make purchases on social media.
And she talked about the high demand for skin lightening products,
oh my God,
which social media and entertainment industry is also encouraging a whole lot. Perhaps that's why you have a lot of African countries concentrate on this, because that seems to be where the money is, where you have the higher demand. That, of course, is where the money is. So we'll take a break and look at another aspect of the beauty and personal care industry. Don't go anywhere. Many thanks for being there. A while ago, we were talking with Grace Collins, who is a beauty expert, to talk to us about men's grooming. We're going to have Grace return now so we can look more into that. There are several factors that influence men's grooming, that influence men's liking for beauty products. So some of them can be seen as how masculinity has evolved. Vivian and I have talked about how before now some men used to see even the application of powder as something strictly for women. But over time, that has changed, with men also wanting to look very attractive and to look good. And a lot of beauty experts have had to adapt to the change, to begin to develop products that men would like a lot more, products that men would buy, while they still maintain their masculinity, yes, and not begin to look very feminine. Now, when we talk about beauty products, it's not limited to skincare products alone. We've talked about the hairdo of men and some other things that they use now to not just look clean, but also look good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we said earlier on, beauty is beyond, you know, the skin.
The skin.
It's not just skin deep. I mean, I keep referring to the WHO. It defined beauty as being holistic, right? It says, in a nutshell, wellness and beauty enhances health. That is germane, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But let's look at some of the strategies that have been employed by beauty companies to sell products to men. Now, I can't even take out the role of the entertainment industry, because that's one strategy that they've actually employed. When you see your favorite actor come to advertise a kind of beauty product, now you want to associate his good look with that, even if that's not what he actually uses. But they do that a whole lot to sell such products to you. And then even talking about the hairstyle, if you go to some salon, you find people requesting for maybe a particular footballer or the hairstyle that's footballer wears, you know, something like that, and it becomes almost like a trend. There's this particular hairstyle they call, is it full moon or something? There's a time that was really trendy, and you find most guys wanting to have that, and it was a big cash out season for barbers who knew how to actually give such cuts.
Okay, so if you are a hairstylist or a barber, you have to step up your game.
Of course, you need to move with the time, you need to move with a trend. And when we were talking with Sarah, she mentioned quite a lot of foreign products. She mentioned a lot of foreign companies, but I don't know how much of Nigerian manufacturers of beauty products, how much of Nigerian beauty experts have been able to really tap into the market in men's grooming, apart from those in the wellness segment who possibly into massage, facials, and manicure and pedicure, because some men still have concerns with the outcome of whatever product that they use, because we have a high demand for lightening products. So some may tell you, oh, I want to look good, but I have no plan of altering my color or even looking lighter, because it may look strange for a man who you used to know to be dark, and after a while you say, but for a woman, it may not really be so strange, because over time it's become like a normal thing for that to happen.
Absolutely. What I know that this is that these days what's normal, what used to be normal, it's no longer normal. The abnormal has become the norm. So definitely, and people have the ability to adapt easily to whatever sells. But there was something our last guest said, that Sarah, that was very important. She said, don't just go with the flow. Don't just go with the crowd. Check out what's good for you. Not what they say on social media, but what's good for you, which is what literacy and, you know, knowing what the regulator says is good, which is where it comes in. That's why your point about regulation is key.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when we talk about the wellness segment, you know, wellness has been redefined. Some people would look at you with a kind of physique, and from that they judge whether you're well or not. But that's actually left for doctors to to maybe examine you and know if you're well. Now, for the ladies, when you see a lady who is slim or trim, it's assumed that she's fit. For the men, when you see a man who's muscular, who has what they call the six-pack, you assume, oh, he's been doing a lot of fitness work, he's been putting a lot of effort into his awareness. So that's also assumed that the man is well or is fit. And a lot of businesses in that segment have actually been able to generate revenue for themselves with these things that they sell, or with this idea, this pictures that they've been able to sell to their customers. Because if you go to some wellness center that incorporates the gym with it, you find more guys there than you will find ladies in those places. Absolutely. And you also have products now being developed, products now being made for people to be more healthy. But one thing that I've also found is that it is only when a particular product has been talked about and even approved by foreign countries or by the Western countries that you now find a buzz around that particular product. Take mushroom, for instance, which you find that some wellness companies sell, and they tell you about the benefits of mushroom. But we had that here even before it came to international recognition, until the West began to talk more about mushroom and its benefits. We didn't see a lot of people use it. We didn't see a lot of persons who are into the beauty and wellness segment use it. So why do we need to wait for a thing to come to international recognition before we now want to start getting into the market or starting to do things like that? You still have people who import mushroom, who import a lot of natural product that we get from here. So
it's inferiority complex. You're talking about mushroom. How about shea butter?
Oh, yeah. Until they gave it a name, until they gave it the English name shea butter, it wasn't appreciated. There's a local name for it. Some call it uri and other things. So who would want to use that? So until the English name came for it, shea butter, it was not. It didn't have value in the market. So we need to do away with such inferiority complexes that also deprive us of the economic gains from some of these things. All right, let's get on to talk with Grace Collins. We'll be talking more about men's grooming. Hello, Grace. Welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me.
You still need to project, Grace.
Can you hear me?
Oh, good. We can hear you now. All right. You've been smiling. I assume you've been listening to us. So talk to us about the trend now in men's grooming and what has led to that.
Okay, just like I was listening to your conversation earlier, a lot of inferiority complex has led to so many of the trends that we have here. Yes, and we have a couple of trends. People just, before, just like you were saying before, we don't have to do all of this. You wouldn't see a guy who wants to look famous and appear more fine and all that we have right now. But then some persons like celebrity came in and they were like, okay, I look good using this product, and they influence the product, and the outcome is that more men are aware of their appearance. They are more, okay, I want to keep beards, I want to grow more hair and all that. So the trends will be that in men's skincare, I've taught a lot of men, and some of them have attended our classes. And when I ask them, okay, what is it that you guys do more, or what is this trend for you? I've gotten feedbacks. Some of them do what we call supplements here. That's where they have to monitor the foods and the diets that they eat, or the things that they take in to help them grow beards, to help them have this final look and have a better frame of skin appearance. So some of them also do the injection. Yeah, it's quite funny that you find men who would just rather go to the wellness places and beauty salon, and they don't want to go through the process of having to eat something to make them more handsome or more have a better skin color. They will just want something that works for the now. Yeah, so they get to just okay. What can we do for you? All right, I need something that will help me look brighter now. Yeah, so they go for injection. Yeah, that's funny because it's far from my research. I've been able to see some persons who do that. Most guys. So the third ones that would be the trend in their skincare is okay. What they apply on their body. That's the whole one we're used to cream. With has been shown that more men now even buy um, sunscreen, they buy face cleanser, they buy serum, and they just want to look, they want their skin to appear better, they want to look better. So these are the trends for men's skincare. And
All
of
right.
course, the hair products too has been on high range. They want to get more, I mean, they want to get products that will help them grow beards and make them grow hair.
Okay, Grace, you run a skincare academy, right? Where you teach and
Yes, I do.
you have taught over 500 persons over Africa. What you teach is the craft of
Yes.
producing natural skincare and maintaining beauty. So we're talking earlier on about natural and organic and scientific. Would you want to talk more about that? Natural
Okay,
skincare.
so when we say okay, natural products. Okay, so we have natural, organic, and scientific. So when we say natural, it will mean that these products, like for my brand, my our product is specifically strictly gotten from natural sources. So when we say natural, we mean that these things are gotten from plants, these things are gotten from flowers, these things are gotten from herbs. Yeah. And when we say organic is from the word organism. It means the combination of both plants and animals. That means I could just get extract from milk extract from goats. That's what we call goat's milk. It's quite a popular skincare product. They use it for making popular skincare products. And apart from that, we could get lactic acid too. We could get that's an extract from animals too. So organic is the combinations of okay, let's put a bit of plant, let's add animal organism, let's add things, it's not just from plant, but animals too. So and scientific will say that these things are carefully processed. Like when I mean carefully processed is that these ones are taken to the lab. Okay, let's really do a check on this. When we add this to this, what we will have to get this result. So these ones are tested. They are scientifically proven to be okay. We've tried it on 50 men and we've seen the outcome.
Okay, thank you. I needed that clarification.
Okay. Yeah, I see now that there's a lot for the consumer to understand about the product that they buy or that they even request, because not much information is available to the consumer. They just assume all are the same. But let's look at the markets itself. We have men now appreciating the beauty and personal care industry. So what's the demand for now when it comes to Nigerian markets, and even for products that are made by Nigerians? Have Nigerian beauty manufacturers like yourself been able to really cash out or been able to really design products that men have embraced? Or that's something that is still left for the foreign markets?
All right. So I wouldn't say yes now because most of the products that these men use they're actually imported, like you said earlier. So they are most imported, like the hair cream and the beard cream and all of those things that they use are mostly imported. But I would say Nigeria, we're still on the process of trying to, okay, let's see how this thing really works. Okay, oh, our men are waking up to light. Oh, they are not paying attention to details. They want to look good and they want a better skin tone and color. Okay, we are still trying. Okay, let us try to do this and do this. I want to say Nigeria, we've not gotten to a stage where we could boldly say that we've taken all Nigerians, I mean all Nigerian men from buying foreign products to just getting as So I would say that Nigeria is still on, we're still trying to, because mostly, and research has actually shown that most product that is consumed by men in Nigeria actually imported. So I'm trying. So we for natural persons who are like myself and natural skincare specialists, we've I know a couple of persons, few of persons I know who has been trying to say, okay, let's pay attention to this. Let's have something we call men's brand, where it's basically majorly to focus on their skin, one, and on their hair and theirs to make them appear finer and all that. So we are still on the verge, but for now, Nigeria has not really hacked into this. We are still on the verge of it.
All right, so Grace, in one study, 56% of men are reportedly buying more skincare products today than they did 5 years ago, and social media has been a key driver. How well are Nigerian producers like you leveraging on social media to cash in on this industry?
Okay, so I said something earlier about how we've been able to organize classes. I do organize classes for men, specifically for men. So, and social media has been a lot of help to me. I cannot just go to their houses and drag them out. So, I'm actually grateful for the use of Facebook and TikTok. So these informations are not just something that we have in our heads to tell you you have to come out of your shell and look. Yeah, your look matters. It's gone past the time where we say your look doesn't really matter. No, that is not this generation. Like 5 years ago, where you said people were less aware of how they should look, but right now, men are taking both steps. They are getting more products, and yes, so I we wouldn't get customers by just going to places. Of course, we can do that by having a rally, but we don't get the amount, the quite number of persons that we need to get this information that, of course, men. So social media has been a very good one for me to get persons to register for my classes. And I know for others that are specialists in natural skincare, so social media has actually played a very good role and is still playing. Myself, I'm still growing on appearing on social media still, but then it has actually done what I couldn't have done in 2 years when I have a physical shop. Of course, physical shop is a good one, but then I've been able to reach a couple of persons all over Africa, and social media has helped from this. I couldn't have possibly gone to Ghana or Zambia or Liberia to get this thing, to get to buy my products, our products, or register for our classes. So social media has been a very good platform for me and for this information.
Does cultural perception of what an African man should look like stand as a challenge to men's grooming markets?
I didn't get the question, please.
Does cultural perception of what an African man should look like stand or still stand as a challenge to the men's grooming markets?
Yes, I'll say yes, because here in Africa, most times where we have challenges of persons who wants to get products and they're like, okay, I don't want to alter my skin color, yeah, and okay, I think I'm actually good, like the way I look. That's for men, and I mean, do you know I'm a man, that kind of thing. I don't a man, so being a man has to be like, I don't have to really care about myself sometimes, not like in court. This is in court. When I mean care about myself, of course I give myself all the good things, but then I don't really see necessity of having to get skincare. I mean, my father didn't use skincare. I've had persons who has said this thing to me, and so I just feel like I'm fine where I am. All I have to do is have money. So this African mentality has actually really affected in men grooming. But in the other way around too, it has actually helped in men grooming, because we some persons has come to the idea that okay, in Africa, a man has to have a beard, has like a long beard, keeps beard, and has maybe for her, or he can choose to get it off. But then the beard, so it's making him pay attention to, okay, I really have to do this to get to that. So it's more like a yes and a yes, something like that.
Okay, as the beauty industry expands, what would help Nigerians and Africans position themselves better to get more from the beauty and personal care industry? Because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And yet we're not getting enough. We're not getting a sizable chunk of that. So what will help Nigerian beauty experts and even African beauty experts to really tap into the industry?
Okay. First, I would say social media, sincerely, social media, leveraging on social media would really, really help. And just like we were saying, 5 years ago, less men were aware of face care. Less men were buying skincare products. But now they just increased, like you said. So I think that what made this increase was the use of social media and influencers. So people who come on TV, who just shows up on social media, oh, this is it. And persons want to like, okay, I want to look good, I want to copy this guy. Because plus or minus, whether we want to admit it or not, what we see every day affects our decision, affects the way we want to think, we want to do things. So for Nigerians or Africa to position themselves in order to tap into this global world of skincare, we'll have to deliberately pay more attention to social media. And okay, of course, there's this inferiority complex that we cannot deny that is actually that African have, yeah, and somehow that's they feel like the whites are better, so they have this inferiority complex. That's why you said some people go ahead and import ori that we have here. They will prefer to buy the one on container that is sealed and called from Germany than to get the original one.
Thank you very much, Grace Collins, skincare specialist, for being with us on the show today. We thank you very much for your contributions. And by the way, Grace, they do not import ori, they import shea butter. We have ori.
Yeah.
Thank you again. And that's been the show today. Vivian, I know that you've learned one or two things about the beauty and skincare industry.
Absolutely.
So when next you're doing your shopping for your products, you know what to do, you know what to look out for,
Absolutely.
right?
I mean, what Grace did for me was to make it very clear that it's organic and natural versus scientific. That's key for me. Yeah.
Okay, and I think we should get more professionals into that. Somebody once threw a tease at some persons who were skincare experts and said, you didn't pass chemistry, but you're producing cream. So I think we should actually know what to do. That's been the show today. I am Blessing Aichi, and Vivian Oguche has been with me on the show. Yeah. We'll see you again on Monday, 7 a.m. West African time. Coming up at 10 is Business Insights. Stay tuned to Sook News.